Hello, P7s. I hope that you're all managing to cope with the things that are going on just now. I'm sure you've all been working really hard at your Google Classrooms. And I'm here in the empty church, and I'm afraid it's going to be empty for some time to come before we can get back to having services here. And so this year there won't be any end of term service. And that will be just one of the things that will be different for you. I'm sure you would all been looking forward to having all the normal things that mark your moving on from Hazlehead Primary, the things that are special about the last few weeks in term for you as Primary 7s. It is very sad that these things won't be happening this year. And I'm sad that you won't be here for the end of term service on the last Friday of the school year. You're the 21st group of P7s that I've seen go through Hazlehead Primary, and I'm really quite upset that I won't be able to share that time with you in person this year as we have done for the past 21 times. But I can still bring you a message, and this is a special message just for you as you move on to new things and as you look back and reflect on your 7 years at Hazlehead Primary, for those who have been there for all of that time. And so I want to tell you a story from the New Testament, a story that Jesus told. We all know that Jesus taught by telling people stories, the parables. And this is one of the parables that he told the folk who were listening to him storytelling. Now, these stories that Jesus told were about everyday events, about the things that those who were listening to him could relate to. So we have stories about farmers and shepherds, about people on journeys, stories about families, stories about losing and finding things, and stories about building. Now that's a story to which most of us can relate. A story of two men building houses. We don't have to go very far to see houses being built in and around Aberdeen. There are building sites all over Aberdeen, and there are quite a few in our local community. So here's the story Jesus told about two men who decided to build themselves houses. Now, one man saw a beautiful site to build a house. It was really close and near the river. It had wonderful river views, and the soil was soft and easy to dig. He thought he'd get the job done with a minimum of effort and as little fuss as possible. And so the foundations were laid in a day. It was done very quickly. The walls shot up, and in no time at all, he was able to relax in his house. There was a second man in the location who was also thinking about building a house. But he thought more carefully about it than the first man did. And so he built his house a little higher up the hillside. Now, it was hard work for him to lay the foundations because the ground he was building on was very rocky. And sometimes he would look over at his friend's house and he envied the speed with which he was building. But in time, he was settled into and was enjoying his new house. Then winter came, and it began to rain. And the river got higher and higher and higher until it flooded out over its banks. The floodwater washed away the soft ground. It undermined the foundations of the first house, and the walls collapsed. It was a disaster. Now, the same rain fell on the second house. The same river flooded. But the water didn't reach the house as it was higher up the hill. And even the torrential rain didn't affect the foundations because they were firmly bedded into the rock. The two men made their plans, and they built their houses. For one, the plans were flawed. The foundations failed and the house collapsed. While the other took more time, made better preparations, and built his house with solid foundations that withstood the winter storms. Now, when Jesus told this story, he was talking about living a life based on his teaching. That to follow the things he taught, to do the things he did, to live with the same care, compassion, and love which he had, was a good foundation on which to build our lives. And I believe that that's true, that to follow Jesus does give us a really good foundation for life. But it's also true that you, as you leave Hazlehead Primary and move on to secondary school, then in a few years perhaps to university, college, and definitely into work, that the foundation you've been given as pupils at Hazlehead is a good base on which to build your lives. The things you've learned as part of the Hazlehead family, not just the academic subjects, not just reading and writing and mathematics, but also the ethos and values of the school. Things like looking out for one another, caring about others, doing the best you can to be the best you can, facing life with courage, taking responsibility for your actions, treating others with fairness, showing respect not only to other people, but also treating the world with respect, and making the most of the opportunities you're given, the new opportunities that will come with a new school, but also the opportunities that will come to you throughout your lives. All of these things are a strong foundation, and it's a foundation you'll take with you and on which you can build for the rest of your lives, so that when hard times come, when life is a bit stormy, your house will stand firm and not collapse like that of the man who wasn't properly prepared, who hadn't made proper plans, and whose foundations were shaky. Hazlehead Primary has given you a really good foundation on which to build your lives. And I'm sure you're grateful to all your teachers, to all the staff in the school, for all they've done for you during your time at Hazlehead. I hope you all have a good summer. It won't be the summer any of us had planned. My holiday plans have all had to be changed. But we can still have a good summer. And I hope that I'll see some of you as you move on, those who are moving on to Hazlehead Academy. Say hello if you see me in the school taking assemblies or in school for other events. And so may God bless you as you move on to new things. And may you remember the foundation that you've been given at Hazlehead. Okay, P7s, bye. Take care of yourselves.